Hello, everyone. My name is Sergei Sergeev. I'm from Belarus, Minsk. I'm SharePoint and Microsoft 365 developer and consultant. Love development, GitHub, and all this stuff. How to make sure that all of your localization labels across SharePoint Framework solution are consistent. So that's something we're going to see in this demo. Let's get started right away. Here I have a very simple and very basic SPFx web part, which simply outputs a localization label. So if you go and see the code, then in the hello world component, I have a strings.greeting, which shows me this nice label here. Now let's say that we need to change something in our localization definition file. For example, I have a need to rename it to just, let's say, my label. Yeah. So I rename it here, I save, then let's wait for build, and then I bet you know what will happen. Yeah, we don't have our label simply because I forgot to change my individual resource file. So I should rename greeting to just my label. Then again, I should save. Let's go ahead and see what will happen next. And bam, we don't have our label still. So what's the problem? The problem is that actually I'm running on DK local. That is why I also have to fix it here. So in two files. And finally, if you wait for a while, then our label is available. So basically, you see the problem. I changed something in our, let's call it primary resource definition file, but I haven't changed individual resource files. And from build standpoint, everything is okay. We don't have any build errors. We don't have any exceptions or problems. But actually on the user interface, we were missing a label. That is why every time you modify something in your primary resource definition file, you should carefully copy all changes across all your individual resource files. And while here it's not a big deal, but in a bigger solution, it might be a real problem. For example, check out here, that's PnP modern search solution. And here we have a lot of different labels, including a few nested levels. Also, that's a common localization file, but we also have localization files for each individual web parts. So here the solution to keep all resources in sync with primary definition file is a little bit more complicated. But fortunately, now we have a solution to this problem. So you should go to your extensions, and then you should install SPFx local check extension. Basically, I have it here, but disabled. Let's enable. And now let's see what will happen if I do the same. Let's say if I want to rename it back to just greeting like this, and then click save. Then immediately Visual Studio Code reports me 2 errors in this file. So if I open, then we have this error, and if you hover over, then it says that this object should have only known properties, and this my label does not exist in type hello world web part strings. So it means that I should, to make it work, I should rename this, then save. So now the problem disappeared, and I should do the same here. And now finally, and also I think should be renamed here. And finally, I have my build fixed, and still I have my localization label here. And it works for all solutions. If we change anything for PnP modern search, if you rename it like this, for example, then again, immediately we have a clear indication that there are some problems with our resource files. So if we scroll down this, then you see that this again, this property does not exist in type, and it also suggests you the right name for this property. But if I rename it back and then save, then all problems disappeared. So this is how this extension works. It helps you to easily identify all potential problems with all of your resource localization files. So how it works under the hood? Under the hood, it goes to your configuration file, and then it looks through all of the localization resource folders. Then in memory, it creates a TypeScript project for every localization resource folder, where every file inside those folder is a TypeScript source file. So actually it renames, again, it happens in memory, it renames all JavaScript to TypeScript, so like this. Then it goes to definition file, and using TypeScript syntax tree, it extracts the interface name. And then again, in memory, it adds a type definition for this function. So now our resource file is strongly typed, and if we have any inconsistency, then the error will be reported immediately. So it happens in the extension in memory using virtual file system, TypeScript virtual file system. So it compiles TypeScript project for every localization resource file. And if there are any errors, then these errors will be mapped to your Visual Studio Code instance using Visual Studio Code Diagnostic API. So this is how this stuff works under the hood. So now I'm going to revert it back, just a JavaScript file. No, please. But SPFx check local is not only a VS Code extension, but that's only a Node.js module. And Node.js module gives you an option to implement such kind of checks inside your build pipeline. For example, here you can create a new gulp task, which performs validation check on all of your resource files, so that all of your individual localization files are consistent with your primary resource definitions. So if you check it here, then that's a model called SPFx check local. Then we have one function, check for errors, and this function accepts path and root to root folder of your SPFx project, and optionally you can say whether you want to print errors or not. And then as a result, we have an array of diagnostic data. This array contains all found errors and metadata about errors. If this array is empty, then everything is good, so we are done without error message. And if not, then we report error messages back like this. So for example, if I, let's say I have it renamed here to something like this, then save. And if I try to run production build, then the build will fail simply because I now have inconsistency between my localization resource files. So this task errored because we found errors in localization files, and also in the output it shows exact line where the problem is, so that you can go and fix all potential problems. For example, I should just rename this one back to just greeting. And that way, if we run it again, then all problems will be cleared. So you can use this additional gulp task, for example, in your continuous integration process to have additional verification that all your localization resource files are in sync with your master or primary localization resource definition file. So basically, yeah, this is it from my side. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you, Sergei. Don't put the Visual Studio Code away. Just a few okay. Pointers just to call out as we're chit-chatting a few questions because we have a few minutes. So just out of curiosity, you're probably using this in your day-to-day work, right? So you're building, and was that where the whole need came from? So just out of curiosity, what was the original reason why you created the extension?
The reason is that the first reason is that sometimes if you have a lot of localization resource files, then you might see problems on user interface if you forget to update something or to add something. So in this case, extension will help you to easily identify these problems. And the second reason is if you, for example, in code, if you somehow transform your localization keys or localization labels, then if any label is missing for any language, then we will have not only user interface problem, but we will have a runtime exception, and the whole web part will not work.
Yeah, this is super useful. A lot of people were super happy about what we've done here, and great extension. Just out of curiosity, how hard was the creation of the extension? So for those who might be interested in building their own.
Actually, it's not that hard because there's just a few Node.js modules which help to create this in-memory virtual file system TypeScript project, and then the TypeScript API provides a way to compile a project, to add files, and then to see the problems in the TypeScript project.
Cool.
So not a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just out of curiosity. It's always interesting to know how hard it is to build these kind of things, but it's super useful as it is for sure. And thank you, Sergei, for sharing this one.